Let's start. Actually, Adam, I don't believe I have seen you for nearly 30 years. Isn't that amazing? The
Yes,
time goes by.
yes. It is amazing, and it's amazing that I would have no problem recognizing you at the big airport
I
or
always looked old.
anywhere.
I wanted to ask you because ever since you started writing me in the last few weeks, uh, I love your title. You're the head of what was called the Change Makers Campus. Can
Yes.
you explain to us what the change, and I presume this is at the University of Gdansk.
Correct, correct. And actually, the idea comes from your country. Most of American universities have developed something around engaging students in social innovation, in community-based research, and doing something that results from that research that helps the community. So I am a fellow of Ashoka, and Ashoka is a global organization based in Washington, D.C. It
Mhm.
was started by Bill Drayton, and it's a global movement. At the moment, it's ranked, for instance, by Forbes as number 5 in terms of social impact globally. So I managed to introduce that culture to my university, and we were accredited as the first Changemakers Campus University in Europe, actually, like the state university in European Union that actually had this quality that of course manifested itself in what students did for Ukraine and how they
Oh,
behaved
I
in the first
see.
days of the war.
Let's go back 30 years and let's go back to that moment in time when my understanding is you were responsible for bringing the Festival of Drama in English to the University of Gdansk. Tell me about that.
Yes, from that perspective of now doing things that are about global impact,
Mhm.
Uh, um, I would be tempted to give you a very strong ideology for that, but I'm afraid I have to be honest that it was just pure fun that made me bring that festival to Gdańsk. Because when we went to Warsaw, to the last edition of that festival in
How long
Warsaw,
had the festival been running there?
I can't tell you exactly, but I think it has been quite long, as the British Council presence was very strong in Warsaw,
Mhm.
and then the whole idea of learning English was part of the hope for liberation. So this was an important tool,
Uh-huh.
especially for the British Council, to engage students and promote English as a language of interaction, of culture. So that was quite important for the British Council. And then, when we went with a musical, A Return
Mhm.
to Forbidden Planet, and we shocked everybody because so far these um, performances were very serious. They were about texts and
Mhm.
everybody who came expected Shakespeare. And, we used Shakespeare, but we also used the rock music of the 50s and 60s, and we had lots of fun with this.
I can
And
imagine.
so um, we didn't have just fun on stage, we had fun in workshops. And what happened was that we were the only ones from the students who survived the evening parties and were ready to work at 9 a.m. with the facilitators from UK mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And we had so much fun in these workshops. And what happened was that I think there were 4 of these facilitators,
Mm-hmm.
but it was only us. It was only our group and one guy, Marek, I remember, who was from Poznań, but he joined our group and actually he transferred to University of Gdańsk next year. So like we were the only ones there partying hard at night, but then having theater fun with the British directors and facilitators. And my dream was like, I want more students in Gdańsk to benefit. And my dream was that, we want to open Gdańsk to this kind of fun. Yes, I will be honest, it was about, stealing that fun from Warsaw to Gdańsk. And I was lucky because actually I discovered that there was nobody there even half passionate about it as I was in Warsaw. So at that time also the director of the British Council changed, and he was objective enough to see it. And I think his decision was just from intuition that, okay, yes, Warsaw is the capital, but I think he decided that Warsaw was spoiled enough with opportunities. So he said, okay, Adam, take it, organize it. He gave me a nice budget. I could also travel to UK to meet the facilitators, select the facilitators, invite 1 or 2 student companies from England. And this is how it started. I at that time I found a venue, and
it wasn't the Miniatura.
No, at the beginning it was Scouts Center in the old city. We wanted to do it in the old city, and also the Scout Center offered accommodation, so it was very easy because the students could be in one place, party in one place. The old town of Gdańsk was not as much attractive as it is now, because this is now one of the top party places in Europe. But still, it was enough to continue that tradition of fun. So the students who came to Gdańsk from other Polish universities that had English departments brought shows, but then students, I think the first theater was Irish, and then the American companies and American students started coming. So it just became about English.
It's absolutely marvelous. And the Irish and Scottish companies and the English companies, and they were all sponsored by the British Council.
Yes,
is that my understanding?
Yes, correct. The British Council was very happy to sponsor this. The director, I remember his name was Ian Seaton. I didn't realize that at that time he was a millionaire. He owned a lot of like stables in Denmark, and it's like, but he was such a nice guy. At that time, you may also remember, I had a baby Fiat, this small, very small car.
Yes.
And he was gracious enough to be driven in that baby Fiat to the venues, to the places where people stayed. And like, I could see that he was a little bit scared because it was a small car.
You were whipping around and you were not that far away from anything.
Yeah,
as
but
you drove.
he really could relate to
Uh-huh.
the incredible energy and the kind of vibes that were around Gdańsk, but were
Mhm.
still from solidarity, but also from this opening up to other cultures through English, welcoming people from all over the world, becoming exposed to diversity.
Mhm.
So
Well, English was in also a political form then, in the sense that it was a balance to Russian and so on and so forth. Uh, what was the motivation? Now, Ian Seaton
mhm.
headed up. Was he headed up the British Council?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes.
What was the motivation of the British Council? What were they trying to achieve?
Well, first of all, they were very happy with the booming language industry. So, selling books, selling
It was an
courses.
industry. Good.
It was a massive
Uh-huh.
industry, and it still is, I think, very important to Britain. And I think Brexit will show how um, how big it was,
Mhm.
because it suffered. It was the first industry that actually suffered. And it will suffer more because less students from Europe go to England to study, and
Mhm.
so that was kind of obvious motivation. It was business. But the second motivation was, and I think it was honest, from
Mhm.
even the royal family to the government, and like average British people, they really realized that Europe goes beyond the river Oder, and
Mhm.
the German border. That there is not just business, potential business in Eastern Europe, but culture, booming culture, and
Mhm.
tourism, and I think there was this growing awareness that English is that bridge to that part of Europe where there is a lot of talent, there's a lot of culture. And then, he fell in love with this idea that Professor Limon
Of course.
exposed, that, Shakespeare players used to come to Gdańsk
In
during the lifetime of
1610.
Shakespeare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I remember actually that we did some of the parts of the show in 1993 as a fundraiser uh, for a theater which was going to take more than 20 years before it eventually got built here, and got built on the grounds of where the fencing school was. Yeah,
Yes.
explain how this worked. I didn't see, and I was terribly sorry to hear that Professor Limon had died. It was COVID, wasn't it?
Yes, yes, COVID
Mhm.
killed him. But yes, he achieved the mission of his foundation,
Mm.
Teatrum Gedanense Foundation. So the theater is one of the most modern Shakespeare theaters in the world. And it's the only theater that big and that modern that was actually built from scratch in Poland. Of course, in a way, it is a theater that somehow functioned there in the 17th century, but fencing school was not exactly a theater. So
No,
uh,
from the title, you would suggest that, yes.
yes, so this is a fully professional theater that architecturally it enters the dialogue with the largest building, that is St. Mary's Church.
Mhm.
So it's also a very kind of symbolic building. But the idea was really to continue that golden age, as it was called in the history of Gdańsk, where theater was that space for total liberation, for intercultural communication,
Mhm,
and English as that medium
mhm.
of communication, because the plays were performed in English, later on also in German, Hoch German, which was the dominant language, but there were enough of people who could understand the language and Shakespeare
This
as the
when
meta language.
the Prussian influence uh, during that period in the 18th, 19th, up until the end of World War One. There was a 125-year period where, of course, Poland never went away, but technically it didn't legally exist.
Yeah.
It's such a fascinating story. My grandfather was born here, and I never thought of it as Poland until I got here myself, and then realized, no, this is the house. This is where he was born. And my great grandfather died here in Gdańsk, and it's so close. But when you talk about German as being a second language there, uh, and people going to the theater and being able to understand it because it was in German, I found that absolutely fascinating and personal.
Yes, and this is something that somehow Professor Lehmann wanted to continue. That tradition of theater being the language itself,
Mhm,
and theater being an opportunity of different cultures to interact, to focus,
mhm.
and be together, because the whole Danziger project, as we can say,
Yes,
was
yes.
was about finding uh, more ways of gaining profit from collaborating than losing it because of conflict. And
Perhaps, perhaps
still
for
when
our
you
audience, if you could explain Danzig as an international city, because many of the people uh, in the United States and in Utah are probably not aware of that Danzig and Gdansk are the same
it's the same
place.
thing. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, of course. So Gdańsk was one of the richest cities in Europe and in the world at that time,
Mhm.
because it was the last non-freezing Baltic port,
Oh, yes.
and through that port came the grain uh, from Ukraine. So now
Yes.
now we know the problem, right? That
Right.
half of the world is affected, and
Yes.
that was the same case there, even stronger. So Gdańsk was the main port for transportation of the grain from from the same areas as today, but
Mhm.
also timber for building ships, for furniture industry, and the coal from the south. And the other way, it was luxurious fabrics, spices, tea, later coffee, and so on and so on. So kind of luxurious things. So the merchants from all over the world had interests here, and there were insurance companies, banking, and everything required collaboration,
Mhm.
communication, negotiations. And Gdańsk was one of the few cities that, similar to like Italian cities or some of the Spanish
Uh-huh.
cities, that were free from this power of royals.
That's right.
So it was kind of really independent, and the tax system was about reinvestment and common reassurance, and the Hanseatic League was about really solving these problems together across the whole northern sphere of Europe.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
from Gdańsk as the last non-freezing port, through the Scandinavian, all the German, to Flemish, Dutch, French, and even Spanish.
The
So
point about the
uh,
Hanseatic League is that the cities themselves were uh, a unified force separate from the so-called rulers of a country. They were in themselves an entity, and especially an economic entity.
yes, absolutely, and that's why Gdańsk was so happy about Polish kings who were far south in Krakow,
Hmm.
over 1,000 kilometers away, unaware of what kind of
Yeah.
business they missed, and they really used that freedom. And when the kings came, they would build them gold
Hmm.
figures, the real size figures, and put them on top of buildings and so on and so on. But they
And
were
then
so
hope they
happy
would
about
go
being
away.
independent. Yes. So that was something. But these values
Uh-huh.
who are still on the main buildings when you enter Gdańsk, that say, in order to thrive, people have to be free.
Yes.
And that the agreement builds edifices, it builds material things, while
Mhm.
disagreement only ruins this. So these were these values that were evident in architecture, in all the art, communicated in this way, but also in institutions. So there was no aristocracy, but the sons of merchants were brought up with certain values, virtues. They had to also learn how to shoot, how to fight,
Mhm.
fence, therefore the fencing school. But Gdańsk didn't have any army. They had a little bit police and so on. They believed in these institutions
Mhm.
that used dialogue, that used communication, that used rational thinking. Let's focus on the profit that we make here. Let's make our business secure by
Mhm.
all these forms of reassurance and so on and so on, and kind of solidarity as kind of form of business solidarity.
It's merchant
That
kings too. I mean, that
yes,
idea,
that
and
yeah,
that idea, I think of, actually, I think of our own Constitution, the idea that people would come together uh, only in times of need. You didn't have a standing army, but people recognized what their needs were in relation to the entire city, and would come together if they were needed.
yes,
Uh,
but it was also about keeping. I would use the Shakespearean concept of mob, that is
mhm.
uncontrolled crowd, happy. So you may know that one of the first advertising campaign was organized in Gdańsk, and it was about drinking Goldwasser. And Goldwasser is a liquor, a sweet liquor
Uh-huh.
that has little gold flakes in it. And the campaign was to put that liquor
Mhm.
through the fountain. So the figure of Neptune was actually pissing with Goldwasser, and
Uh-huh.
everybody could just grab a glass and just get the drink. And
We here have been talking a lot about the statue of Neptune because all of our students took photos of it. They were so impressed by it. Had they known that it was spraying gold, they might have taken even more pictures.
And alcohol. I mean,
Yes.
Goldwasser is about, I don't know, 30% proof as well.
Oh my goodness.
So that mob was really somehow included in celebrations, and Shakespeare plays were part of that fun that people had in the summer, when they brought the goods, they sold them well. And, so Gdańsk was a party place. But it was also a very rich place that sponsored art. And Shakespeare knew about it. Shakespeare knew that, if the players go there, they will earn in 2 weeks probably 6 month wages.
Yes, and of course, oftentimes they came when there was a plague in England.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was also. Yes,
So
that was
they
also part.
didn't have to shut down. They just moved.
Yes, exactly.
Obviously, you have a wide understanding of art and history and so on and so forth. I know that you have a PhD. What was your area of study as a student? And when did you get into your current business?
Yes, my area was drama.
It was
I
drama.
Yes, I was at the English philology. I was interested in drama as a method for teaching English as a foreign language, and then using theater, especially theater improvisation, for dealing with that uncertainty. So that's still that connection, because I had this theory that if you don't push yourself to deal with uncertainty, you will never master a language, a foreign language. So that was about improvisation. But then my PhD was in psychology, and I was interested in self-efficacy beliefs and in resilience, and how drama and experience of taking roles and improvising helps you to raise your
You were doing then
level
on
of self-efficacy.
stage what you would be forced to do in life, to improvise and to demonstrate your resilience and so on and so forth, not on stage, but everywhere.
Yeah. So I was using the concept of reducing the risk of being judged and failing in like with real consequences on individual level, but even more importantly, connecting to other people, connecting to other people's ways of thinking, reacting, behaving, empathizing, listening well. So these are the skills that we develop, and then they help us not to panic.
Well, you can
Be
experience other situations as without consequence on stage that you're going to have to deal with in real life then. Yes.
exactly.
Uh-huh.
And coming back to my engagement in festivals of drama in English, and then with maybe theater, and then with Shakespeare Festival, it was all about this kind of intuition that we extend that benefit of experiencing theater, of experiencing acting, especially with others, to non-professionals. And I capitalize on that, both then promoting this way of teaching English to regular teachers. But then I started a youth theater that actually threatened a lot of professional theaters here because, my idea was that young people should just do theater and don't worry, if it leads them into professional
Sounds like
careers.
this Suzuki method in Japan, in a way, bringing all the young kids together and seeing who rises to the top. Go on. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's the idea, and also again the context, because when I started work, that is in early 90s, it was the time of very violent transitions, from centrally planned economy to free market economy. The
Yes,
shipyard went
would you
bankrupt.
explain that? Because we're talking about a period that follows kind of the revolution of 1989, and you're dealing with a totally different economic situation in the 90s than you probably grew up with. Okay,
Yeah, so when I started my university, everything was still centrally planned, and
mhm,
people uh, got jobs from the state, and people were
yes.
told where to go to work. And I entered the university, and then everything changed. Nobody cared. It's like where you have a job, if you have a job. So we are talking about thousands of people being laid off, more or less, in the same
Mhm.
month. So the Lenin shipyard, which was the largest employer, was in a way closed within several weeks, and over 6,000 men
This is right
lost their
here in
jobs.
Gdansk.
This is in Gdańsk,
Yeah.
yes. So they lost jobs. They became unemployed without any hope of finding a job.
Mhm.
They lost their dignity. They are
They'd
often
not been trained for anything else either, right?
exactly, and they always took a great pride in what they did. So nobody took care of them, and uh, I realized that also nobody took care of their kids. Looking at their fathers who lost the sense of agency, who lost the sense of
Mm,
purpose.
mm.
So we were talking about not 6,000, but at least like 20,000 of kids.
6,000 and their next generation. Yeah.
Yes. So especially in these huge districts where they lived, there was a need for some form of support to these young people.
Mhm.
And my idea was like, open up the theaters, start doing different things, train the teachers to help them do this in schools, and use also the theater against the violence and the addiction that was predominant, because the first thing to release the stress and kind of forget about problems was alcohol. So it was a huge problem.
Mhm. And the plays that you were doing were a demonstration of the problems that the people were seeing in their everyday lives. I'm assuming, and
Yeah, but
would, yeah.
I encourage the young people to come up with the narratives and
Oh, I see.
with the fiction they wanted. So my favorite one was actually about vegetables. So there was a guy who is called Abelard Giza, and he's one of the biggest celebrities now. He is the first stand-up artist in Poland, and he came up with this idea when he was 15, and he was my kid, that if you want to prevent drinking among young people, you don't have to use the word alcohol, you don't have to use the word drinking. you just come up with a bunch of vegetables. And the characters were vegetables, and the main character was a potato, a very boring character. And then the more colorful were the carrot, who loved the artificial sunbeds and the sun. And
Uh-huh.
she would hang out with the beetroot that were the driving BMWs, and they used artificial fertilizers. And and there would be these parties, and some vegetables would also burn some weeds. The kids were getting the situations, and then we used Augusto Boal forum for them to stop and reflect what is going on, and what are the consequences, and who
Mhm.
are the good guys and who are the bad guys, and where the pressures come from, and with which pressures they have to deal. And that play, written by this 15-year-old Abelard, who is now very, very famous,
Mhm.
was seen by thousands of kids who came during school, because it was an official program where it was called alcohol prevention program. But it was fun,
Yeah,
because there were
alcohol
lots of
prevention
jokes.
sounds like really, you know, but
Yeah, but
fun is,
that was the problem, that that
yeah,
all these programs were like this,
yeah,
and if there was a form of theater, it was terrible, because they were showing alcoholics, and what happens to you when you become an alcoholic, and that was not
yeah.
helpful for teenagers at all. What was helpful was to give them strategies to deal with the peer pressure, and to be compassionate about something,
Yes.
to get into good groups that can be creative about something, and that appreciate humor, because basically that was our message. As long as you know how to laugh, you're safe, because you can distance yourself, and you can really appreciate creative people. So that was just one example. So it could
You're
be
telling
about
me this
anything.
was in the 1990s. Specifically, when did you start this theater, and how did you get the funding for that?
Well, from America, of course.
Oh, is
George,
that right?
yes, George Soros was my main sponsor.
George we just had an election, and I would swear he was running sometimes. Not not that he ever showed up, but people were looking for him in every crack. That's that sort of thing. Okay, tell me about this, how this got started and how
uh,
George
yeah,
Soros is involved.
yeah, of course, I got my job at the theater because of Professor Limon, and because of my engagement in Shakespeare festivals,
Mhm,
where I hanged around with the actors and was driving them in my baby Fiat and so on. And this is how I
mhm.
met the current general manager, Ewa Bąk-Woźniakiewicz, of Wybrzeże Theater.
Mhm,
And she asked me to be the assistant director for Peter Pan production.
mhm,
And Roger Redfern, the British director, told me that he loves Peter Pan, but he hates working with the kids. And he said, if you can deal with the kids, I will do the rest, and this will be a great production.
I
So
see.
my role was actually to direct the kids in Peter Pan, and I loved it. I think we did it well. So I got the job of head of education for State Theatre of Wybrzeże, and this is how the program started. And my idea was to open up this theater to these kids of the unemployed, and
Mhm.
at-risk kids, but also invite very creative kids from the best schools, and kind of do the mixture. And this is how the Brzeżak was created. And because it was such a new idea,
Mhm.
And it was quite easy to persuade the Batory Foundation, which was Soros Foundation. And in 1995, Batory Foundation had 10 times more of a budget for culture than the Polish government. So uh, it was pretty easy for me
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get money and do crazy things and send these kids to all over Europe, to festivals, to America, to Odyssey of the Mind competitions, and show them that what they do has value, will be appreciated in different parts of the world. And this is how they became celebrities, because they really managed to do all kinds of stuff. Some of them are now in Sydney, Australia, in Chicago, all over the world,
Mhm.
speaking different languages, managing big institutions, and still using their improvisational skills, I guess.
You mentioned that you took a musical to Warsaw to be in the Festival of Drama in English. And what I'm realizing now is the Festival of Drama in English is just a very small part of a great movement. Uh, and it's a movement that goes beyond art, but certainly is driven by art and so on and so forth. At what point, what was the year that you brought the festival from Warsaw to Gdansk?
It could be 1991.
1991.
Yeah, but it could be the year before or after. But
But it's right in that era. So it's
yeah,
right a year or two after the
yeah,
revolution.
because I was in my because I graduated in 95, and this is
Uh-huh.
when I got the job from the State Theater. Um, and I did it because I had a lot of free time, because I failed an exam in literature, and I had to repeat the second year. So I had a little bit more time, and this is when it happened. So it could be 1991 or 1992,
I
because
see.
then I had 4 more years to go, 3 more years, three
Uh-huh.
four 4 years to go the studies.
So
So it was
1991.
still in a way formally under
Mhm.
communism,
Yes.
where we still had communism in Poland.
Well, just because you change the government doesn't mean you change the way people think. Uh,
Of course, it doesn't
yeah,
it doesn't happen. Sometimes it takes 2 generations actually to
yeah.
change mindsets and the culture. We were lucky because it happened faster, and as you say, that this theater was big part of it, and I still believe that it really speeds up the transformation
Hmm.
when you are exposed in a safe way to different ways of thinking, to diversity,
Hmm.
where you can explore a possibility without making a full commitment for the
Hmm.
change. So there is this concept of edging in people for something new, and kind of
Hmm.
trying, how it could be, in different reality, in different role, with different perspectives, values sometimes, because what really causes a lot of conflicts still now, and resistance to change,
Hmm.
is misconception of values, a kind of misinterpretation of values.
And so
So
the church comes into this too. That
mm, yes.
okay, because that's another thing that has to be dealt with. Uh, not obviously fought, but in some ways, compromises have to be worked out. So,
Yeah, I mean, I
mhm.
agree. I agree that the church is just one of the institutions promoting dominance,
Yes.
uh, uh, male dominance over the rest of the world.
Mhm.
So yes, it is problematic, not so much for young people. I think young people totally ignore now that the church and
Hmm.
and its role, not always negative, because
No.
when we talk about history and solidarity, I think solidarity would have much more challenges if it wasn't for the
Hmm.
church. So Polish Church, Catholic Church, played an incredible role in getting rid of communism and making solidarity. And even
Hmm.
the infamous priest Jankowski, who was at the end of his career also anti-Semitic, but
Hmm.
at the time of solidarity, he talked about rainbow, or and about diversity as something that needs to become part of our reality. And I think it was very important for the young people, and it was very important to have these churches as as very solid buildings, as the spaces for bringing new ideas and
It was
for
also
telling the truth.
a place where people could go that um in some places communism did not could not follow them in the doors
Exactly,
there.
exactly.
It was a place
They yeah.
to stand and discuss things.
And hide, very
Yeah.
often hide, for the opposition leaders to hide. Yes, but then the systemic thing was the dominance. So
Mhm.
for young people, church is just one of the things that needs to be rejected just to move on and
Yeah.
to be allowed to be yourself and to be allowed to explore who you want to become in a free world.
Hmm.
So yeah, that drastically changed. That absolutely, especially by young people,
Hmm.
it's just redefined.
In 1996, the group from the University of Utah made its third appearance at the Festival of Drama in English. And I came back in the spring of 1997, and I did again teach a course at the university, but I don't remember the festival. Did it still exist in 1997? And if so, why not? And what replaced it?
I I think it didn't, because I think the practical reason was that we were all so engaged in Shakespeare Festival, and the Shakespeare Festival became so big that we didn't see the need for something small and just amateur, especially that Professor Lehmann worked very closely with us, and he really could listen, and he listened to me, and he
Mhm.
was very supportive of my work with the young people. And he said, that there should be this big component of workshops, and they called it Shakespeare off. So young people could show their performances, and they didn't have to be related to Shakespeare. They didn't have to be Shakespeare plays. They could be anything interesting. I think a lot of younger colleagues, the students who were still with us in maybe theater company,
Mhm.
they were all engaged as volunteers in Shakespeare Festival, and they either ran the workshops themselves or they helped the groups that came. And it was so big, and it actually required the whole year round to prepare. So I think that was this practical reason where, especially the people I knew from the festivals and from maybe theater company, They were all part of Shakespeare festivals and the whole endeavor to build Shakespeare Theatre in Gdańsk.
I think you actually answered my question there. And again, um, in a very positive manner. It was not a question of the festival coming to the end. It was a question of evolution in a way.
Exactly.
And I'm very impressed by that. Tell me about a title like the Maybe Theater. I mean, maybe theater? That sounds like we're not exactly sure of what we're going to be able to achieve here.
Yes, that was also my kind of process. I remember we had a big discussion about it, also with Kathy Chofty, who
Uh-huh.
directed our first play, and we were thinking along like possibilities, opportunity theater, or something like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was somebody who said, yeah, but are you going to um, become like a professional company or professional theater? And I said maybe. And
What
then
it
I think
becomes. Yeah.
yes, and then it was probably Kathy's husband, who was the professor there, who said, "Yeah, maybe theater sounds different.
Mhm.
Sounds like this." And it was about the attitude. Let's see what happens. Let's just have fun, because for me it was very important to keep that fun, that
Mhm.
passion, and that freedom, that people wanted to come interact with another talent, of course show off a little bit of the talent, but
Sure.
then yeah, there was no pressure,
We
on
don't know what's going to happen. Let's find out.
exactly,
Uh-huh.
exactly. Mhm. So
Yes.
yeah, so it was actually Frank Chaffee who suggested that name, but just out of my kind of showing attitude of maybe.
Do you still personally work in theater?
Yes, I would say yes. I do a lot of projects with Gdańsk Shakespeare Theatre.
Uh-huh.
I support the education specialists there, and
Mhm.
we just did a big project about using Shakespeare for aesthetic learning.
Mhm.
And we worked with 5 different universities in Poland, and trying to bring elements of Shakespeare into teaching anything, but especially social competences
Uh-huh.
like courage, like yeah, dealing with uncertainty, empathy, intercultural communication.
Are these
So
still children that you're young actors that you're working with?
in this project, we worked with university students.
Okay. Mhm.
But also I ran project because apart from the university, I also work for my wife's company, which is called InnoCamp PL, and it started with organizing these innovation camps for
Mhm.
young people, for educators, for teachers, but also for university leaders. Uh, and there we also use drama and theater for inclusive education, for helping young students who are challenged somehow, but also the talented and gifted. So I would say I have never left the theater with my work. I would always look for ways how I could make theater even more socially engaged. So that was the kind of pattern. So almost in every project, I have this element of um, role taking,
Hmm.
distancing from roles, from masks. Using the context fiction for exploring risks,
Hmm.
for dealing with that elements of uncertainty, and going through experiences of failure or doubts and so on and so on. So like building that resilience. So I have never left the theater in this sense,
Hmm.
but I was simply sacked from the state theater because what I did with young people threatened the professional theater.
I
It was
see.
just too big. It was just too big because when you looked at the repertoire of a big theater, it had 3 stages and big subsidies, but my productions were 80% of the repertoire, so they had to get
Hmm.
rid of me. I was too much of a threat.
That's right. Then you're embarrassing to have around. I can see how
Yes,
that
but
works.
yes, but then
Uh,
I took it to another level. I embedded it in university programs, in
mhm.
school programs, in social kind of policies, and I internationalized it. I did the same work in places like Gaza Strip in Palestine or in Roma ghettos in the Balkans.
Mhm.
I went to favelas of Lima in Peru.
Mhm.
I even work in the Bronx, so at the Hans Point. So I made it really international,
Uh-huh.
and inspired a lot of educators and empowered them to use theater.
How did your wife's company fit into that? Didn't you?
She fell in love with the format of innovation camps,
Mhm.
where the big groups of young people could just spend time on ideating things and trying things and having fun with prototypes and ideas, and spending 3 or 4 days together, just really trying to be a good team.
Mhm.
And she really liked it. And at that time, she was the money person at the university. She was the financial manager of big European projects.
Nice to have
And
around.
yes, absolutely. And then she just became passionate about these things, and especially about the Nordic countries and their systems for education. And she wanted to bring it to Poland, and this is how she started her company, and
Mhm.
she just grew it. And at the moment, she's interested in something totally different. She's interested in reflexology and massages. So I have to
Explain that
run
to
the
me.
project.
I'm sorry.
These are finding different points on your face and kind of
Oh,
activating them for your well-being and for your beauty and everything. And this is
mhm.
this is what fascinates her now.
What do you see as doing in the future? What would you like to do that you haven't yet done before? Or is it just, again, a question of taking what evolves and following through on it?
I think it's the latter. I think it's the
Mhm.
latter because I get job offers at least once a month,
Mhm.
and uh, some of them are very tempting, especially if they are about leading an interesting organization that requires change.
Mhm.
So I am a change maker.
Yes,
I
you're a
am
change maker.
I am a leader of change. So
Uh-huh.
if I find an organization that has interesting mission and needs a change leader,
Okay.
I can probably take that job. But I think, I said the latter because things unfold. I mean, um, University of Gdańsk is a place of opportunities. It's a
Hmm.
great institution. It's a city in a city. So and it's a city in a free city. So it's interesting enough, and with other financial opportunities, it's just enough for me to stay creative and
Hmm.
and to use my strengths, kind of, to function and learn new things. But we will see. I will let you know if something drastic
Please
happens.
do. And if you ever have a project involving elderly Americans, um, remember that you do know at least one.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. I mean, now that I experienced
Yes, but we
your
never
energy
really
and your
sat down.
curiosity.
We never
Yes.
really sat down and talked about all of these things. I'm just so pleased that we had the opportunity to go through these things because um, many of my beliefs about them have been altered. And I appreciate what you have done for us. And I just keep hoping you're going to keep doing these things and that I'm aware of them because I now want to go out and do something again, that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, thank you, Richard. It's the same way to you. Thank you for investing so much of your creative time when you were here.
Hmm.
And um, it was a wonderful experience when we are doing this radio interview, and it was about solidarity,
That
and it was
Marilyn did.
about
Yep.
storytelling, and that was kind of the peak experience for me. But the way we didn't have time simply is because, from the especially 95, 96, 97, there were
Hmm.
times of my most uh, risky projects
Hmm.
that I did, very crazy things that I developed,
And
and
those were the years
also
that we were here with the theater project. As a matter of fact,
exactly,
you were the
yes,
person that I wrote to get to find out if I had permission to bring something from the University of Utah. And I can tell you the exact date when it was December 20th, 1993, where I got the note from you back in our email days saying, yes, please come and do a workshop too. I remember that. So what I have to do now, what they're telling me is we're going to run down. So what I need you to do in this last 30 seconds is to say something inspiring. Are we out?
No, no, keep going.
Keep going. Okay. No, well, you've got more than 30 seconds, he tells me, but
uh yeah, I mean, I think that what is really inspiring is that friendship, Polish American friendship,
mhm,
that is becoming very equal, because when in 90s we looked at Americans as models and
mhm.
friends, but meaning big friends with ideas, money, strategies. I think now we came to a
You are
close
yourselves
circle.
now. I mean, you are in some ways these idea leaders. You have your own ideas that you're carrying out at this point.
Yes, but really, I mean, it's hard to underestimate the help of America
Mhm.
to Poland at that time. But I think what is inspirational is that for so many years we can reverse things or reciprocate
Mhm.
things, and just stay in that inspirational dialogue, and I hope that's inspirational enough that we all have students, we all model
Yes,
young people, and we tell these stories, and I hope that somebody will get inspired.
life is all stories. Thanks, thank you, Adam Rushawowski. Um, I know I'm going to come back to you in time and ask still more questions because you've raised at least as many as you've answered. So thank you very much for coming, and I really appreciate it. Uh,
Thank you. That was a wonderful conversation. And yes, I agree. We will come back to many things that we have started talking about.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you. Bye bye.